Hello and welcome again to Better Business Bureau Serving Connecticut's Marketplace Insight. And if this is the first time you're watching our show, our main topic is the marketplace and what Better Business Bureau and state agencies do to protect and educate consumers about scams. Better Business Bureau, BBB, has been around for more than 100 years, helping consumers and businesses navigate the ever-changing and sometimes rough marketplace waters. BBB offers services to consumers and businesses through our website, public education like this show, and on the telephone. And we'll have contact information before we wrap up the show. So how does BBB work? Here to answer that question and more is the CEO and President of BBB Serving Connecticut, Paulette Scarpetti. Paulette, welcome to the show.
Well, thank you so much for having me.
Yeah, actually, I think we saw each other on the way here when we were still in the office. You've been in Better Business Bureau for quite a while.
38 years.
38 years. How has it evolved from the time when you joined until now?
Oh my goodness, it's changed so much. In those days, we didn't have the technology we have today. So when a complaint would come in, a consumer consultant would have to get up, go to the files, open a file drawer, take out a paper file, then go to the phone, read what was in that file, put the file back, put it back in the drawer so they didn't lose the spot in case another caller called and they needed that file in the future. And that's pretty much how we answer the phone. Now it's right in front of them on the computer. And most of the time, people don't even call. That's only 1%. 99% of the time, people go online on our website, and that's where they get information on a company.
And that's really how the technology has played out in terms of both the business and the consumer experience is using the website for things that we couldn't have done back 30 years ago.
Oh, true. I even remember we didn't have computers when we started. So when computers first came around, they were those old dumb terminals with the green screens, and people went home with a headache because they were so glaring in your eyes. So, and all the information was in one stored terminal that then had to share it with the other dumb terminals. So it was very different than it is today.
And the increase or the improvements in technology have also changed the website, because at one time there was a widely held perception that Better Business Bureau is the place you go to complain. And though we still do handle complaints and monitor businesses, we've gone beyond that, haven't we?
Oh, most definitely. We've gone so far beyond. We did do some other things before. We've always done ad review, going way back to the 1920s. Basically, that's what we were found on, was finding false advertising in the marketplace way back into the 1920s, when you have the baldness cures and weight loss cures and those sorts of things. And it probably not too different than today, because we have so much on the internet that claims they can cure all those things. But back then, it was how do you tell the public? So you had to then get a hold of the media, as we are with today, and you had to get a hold of the media and get that statement out as to what was going on, what was false in the marketplace, and that's pretty much how they started. They were advertising agencies, basically that looked to help stop scamming the public. And little by little, we grew into the complaint handling and the taking inquiry calls on a business before anybody did a purchase. And we became really known for that. But now we do so much more. We're doing scams. We have a scam tracker program where we track scams when they happen. And we can share that information nationally, internationally, even in Canada and Mexico. So these programs have added to what we do. We do arbitration. We never did arbitration until the 1970s. And in the 70s, we began a program with Autoline. And we had major manufacturers that if there was a problem with their vehicle, the consumer could come to the Better Business Bureau and have a third party arbitrate it for them. And so it's been really great. There's so much more.
So when people join BBB to become a member, or that's the old word, now it's an accredited business, can you typify what kind of a business, like a family business as an example, why would they join, why would they become accredited by Better Business Bureau?
Well, businesses are interested in becoming accredited because they want that mark of trust, the trust that comes with the Better Business Bureau seal. It's kind of like that seal of approval, and it makes people feel confident. Consumers, they look for someone that's accredited, and they look for someone with an A+, A rating, but more importantly, they want to know they're accredited and they stand by the standards of the Better Business Bureau and that they can trust them to do the right thing.
What are those standards?
Well, there's 8 of them, and they go from trust in the marketplace, integrity, and you could probably spiel them off as fast as I can, but they are listed up on our website, so I won't go into detail on each one.
And the accredited businesses have to commit themselves to dispute resolution. And that's so important these days, isn't it?
Yes, it is. So if a dispute were going to happen and the business didn't resolve it, they could stand having their accreditation taken away, because that's part of the standards, the honesty and the integrity. But also part of the standards is to say that if a dispute, you're going to take a dispute to the level of resolving it.
Now, we have records on both accredited businesses, but also businesses that are not accredited. Some of them have an A+, in fact, and I guess what I'm wondering is, how do we get businesses that are not accredited onto our site? What does it take for them to have a report with Better Business Bureau?
Well, a company does not necessarily need to be accredited to have a report. One of the major things in our database, we have in the office, we have a data quality team, and they actually look at records on a daily basis so that there's any old records that might be from the 1970s that no longer exist. People went out of business. They're cleaning all of that sort of thing out, and now we're at the point where only 6% of our files are not rated. Everything else is rated, and we continue to add new information in so that when you go to the Better Business Bureau, you can get a report on a business and feel confident. That's our ultimate goal, is to get them all rated in the next couple of years.
Now, when we talk about a business that's not rated, we're talking about something that appears on the business review. So if I put the name of Joe's Garage into the search box, it's going to bring me to what kind of a record? What is in that business review?
Well, it's going to tell you how long they've been in business. It's going to verify the name of the company, the address. It's also going to verify the owner's name. So all that information needs to be there before we can create a record that's live to the public. It also, we have to know how long you've been in business, or at least how long we've had a file on your business before it can be rated. All of that is part of the file. And then when you're there, you can look at, did they have any complaints? How do they handle them? And some of our businesses even have photos on our website and showing what they do, how they do it, and and they can even come to our site, accredited or not accredited, and tell us what kind of business they do and what they do. It can't be an ad, but it can be factual statement of what they actually do. It's very helpful for consumers.
And our accredited businesses are very proud of what they do. It's not just a question of putting up a seal in their marketing material, is it?
No, they are very proud, and they're more than willing to take care of a customer when the complaint comes. A complaint might arise, but they don't always arise. So we have files on businesses that don't have complaints either, so it can go either way.
And what are the types of things that people complain about?
Oh, they complain about products. They might complain about service. They might complain about their advertising. We get all types of complaints, warranty issues.
And how does Better Business Bureau help settle these if it's, for example, a non-accredited business?
Accredited or not accredited, it's the same way. A complaint goes out to the business. We ask for a response, and when the response comes in, it goes to the consumer, and the consumer has an opportunity to respond if that is acceptable to them, if that really addresses the problem, and if it doesn't address the problem, we will then report back to the business what the consumer said and why it's not addressing the problem, and give the business another opportunity to respond.
So it must be revealing to read both. We do post a transcript of the complaint and how the business responds, with personal information taken out. So when you see the responses from the consumers and from the businesses, nobody can be completely, not everybody can be completely happy, but you can find some things within that back and forth that might tell a visiting consumer about a business, good or bad.
Exactly, and that's the purpose of putting it on. We've also gone a bit beyond, which is another new program we've added in the last couple of years, and that's we do business reviews. As you probably know, a lot of people go to some of the famous review sites to see if they have 5 stars, AAAs, whatever kind of rating formula they may have. Well, in our case, they can come, they can post a review, and maybe they're angry with the way they were treated by an employee, but they really don't have an actual complaint where they're looking for anything monetarily. So this is a good place to say what your experience was, good or bad. We also have people that'll post a review because they got such excellent service and they want to tell other people that this is a great company to do business with. So in those cases, they'll post a review. And basically at the BBB, we're finding that we're almost 50% are positive reviews, and that's helpful information for a consumer when they're looking to a company to do business with.
Now, we know there are a lot of review sites that are notoriously unreliable. How does Better Business Bureau's review, how do Better Business Bureau's reviews, how are they authenticated is the word I'm looking for?
Well, one of the things we do that's different than most sites is we write to the business and let them know there's been a review, and they have 2 days to respond back if they would like to post up a response to that review. So it gives them an opportunity where most sites that do this sort of thing don't give you that opportunity until after it's posted. This, you have 2 days prior to the posting. We also double check that the email came from an actual legit location and not just maybe a crawler or some other way that they get to us.
Now, the slogan or the tagline of Better Business Bureau is "Start with Trust." And BBB puts a lot of emphasis on the trust issue. Why is trust, or would you say that trust is the #1 issue in the marketplace right now?
Well, trust is very important to consumers. You know, there's so much opportunity. We're doing so much shopping online. We don't really know who these people are, so we want to trust that they have a good reputation. And almost every business, there's multiple businesses like it. There's so much competition today. So for that fact, it's important to the consumer that they can trust the one they choose.
Now, when people go to a business review and they'll see a certain number of complaints, more than they would for some other company. Obviously, one will have more business volume than the other. Can you explain a little bit about how that works, that a company that's national, wireless is an example, how it's handicapped, if you will. Would that be accurate?
Well, I think I see what you're saying, Howard, but basically what happens in a lot of these large wireless companies, even large national banks, that serve multiple states, have the problem where things can happen on a regular basis and their complaint levels could go up, or in the case of a bank, their government actions could go up. And does that mean that they did something wrong? Not necessarily. So at the BBB, we're evaluating all of that as well. So if you're a large business, you can handle a larger complaint volume before your grade would go down compared to a small business, because you're more likely to get more complaints.
Right. When you look at the roster of businesses that we have, it's got to give you some satisfaction after all these years to show that we have actually helped create a marketplace that's part of our mandate here in Connecticut.
Where consumers and businesses can trust each other.
I heard. And we do that several ways, through the education like we were talking about, but there are many services on the website that have nothing to do with complaints or looking up a business. And I noticed one of them was Military Line, and I'm wondering if you can tell us a little bit about that.
Well, Military Line is, again, a relatively new program, at least in my lifetime, in that probably in the last 7 or 8 years, we added in Military Line. And one of the resistance we had at the BBB in Connecticut of adding it in, we didn't feel like we had a huge base. Well, the interesting thing is you don't need a big military base to have a Military Line for the BBB. What we actually do is we educate those that are on a base, but we also work to help make that equal market for those people that are in the military. And even after they get out, where do they go to get help for different programs and help on different issues? And if they have a complaint or if they just are having problem finding the right person to do business with. Don't forget, when you've been in the military, you've been out of the market for a while. And so when you come back, these are things that we can help bring to you. And so that's been a wonderful program. We'll go out, we'll do programs in the community where we help educate the military, both retired and active duty. So it's been a wonderful program.
And then part of it also has to do with members of the military or veterans. It's got a newsletter in there, all types of resources, because when someone's on deployment, that leaves usually one parent at home, and unfortunately the scammers move in on them, don't they?
They do, and then, you know, and that can be a problem. So we want them to make sure we want to make sure that they know what the best thing to do is. And we've even taken Military Line a few steps farther, where we have programs that we have that are attached to some of the Better Business Bureau events. We have a Military Appreciation Night in 2 locations in Connecticut, both with venues that are in the sports arena. And at those events, we offer opportunities to acknowledge military heroes, and we also raise money by silent auctioning off the shirts of the players, and that money that is raised from those events goes to fund a scholarship for a student of a military family.
Which actually leads, it's a nice segue to the next part, is at our annual banquet, awards banquet and meeting, among the people who go for awards, we have scholarships. And can you give us a little history about that, and both about the child of the military family and our first scholarships?
Right. Long before we had a military scholarship, we offered scholarships to students that were in their junior year going into their senior year. So they would enter the scholarship at the very end of the junior year with the help of the school. That way we would do it so that they could get the help of the counselors, and they would enter, and during the summer the judges would judge these entries, and we would give out to a student who had exemplified ethical behavior and was going on to do something that would help the community in the future, that had that kind of a career goal that would embody integrity and trust.
When we talk about embodying integrity and trust, it's not just a question of saying, all right, you're accredited, goodbye. We monitor on an ongoing basis, don't we?
Right. At the Better Business Bureau on a daily basis, we have a team that looks at businesses that are accredited to make sure they maintain the accreditation standards by looking at various things they do, including their website, to make sure they haven't started putting any new claims on it since they first came in, and to make sure that they do meet all those standards. So it's not a one-time pop, you're accredited and you're accredited forever. We are monitoring you every year.
And if we see any sort of pattern, bad marketplace behavior, what steps would we take?
And that can happen at any time. We could see a pattern at any time during the year. And if a pattern develops within a file, what we do, it has to be at least 3 instances of the same kind of pattern. These are accredited and non-accredited. And I have to be quite honest with you, normally happens with non-accredited businesses. These patterns, they'll develop, they don't take care of a consumer, and that's when we write to them and let them know a pattern is developed. And if it continues, that becomes part of their report. So that pattern is reported in that report that you're going to look for online when you're looking for a business to do business with.
Well, and if we look back, again, 20 years or 30 years, the number of consumer scams, criminal activity targeting consumers, totally different ballgame now, isn't it?
Oh, definitely.
Because it was not solely based on technology, it was really a crime of contact, if you will.
It sure was. I think the biggest crimes that we saw back in before technology, one of the ones was the driveway paver, the itinerant driveway pavers that would come out every spring, and they'd have a load of tar in their truck, and it really was a sealant, and they would say, well, I can take care of your driveway and give you a new coat. I was just doing the guy down the street, and I'll do it for this price, and they'd put a seal on it that most likely didn't last a year. Same thing would happen with chimney sweeps. They'd come and they'd tell you that the chimney was awful, and they'll still happen. So I don't think they don't happen. We just I think consumers are just more aware. So this chimney sweep would come and say the chimney, take a look at it, make the consumer feel as though they needed all this work. The rule of thumb is get 3 quotes before you do business. Don't just take the word of an itinerant that comes to your door or the very first person that you're going to go to. Get 3 quotes and see what everybody tells you is wrong, each one of those 3, and then do an evaluation and make the best informed decision.
And if people find that one estimate is considerably lower or higher than the others, they should be asking why.
They should, because it might be that they added a little something, or maybe they didn't, and you needed it. So it's lowest price is not always best, right. But then of course neither is always highest price. So you want to get to the facts of why the price differentials exist.
And speaking to recent references then, and I specify recent because if they change ownership or change employees, the work will be different. And that's why it's important to get the most recent references of all.
Exactly. You want to make sure that you do that. And we constantly keep ours up, but if you're going to find references in any other way, you want to make sure they're current.
All right, we only have time for another question or two. What has surprised you the most since you got into the BBB system?
Probably how fast-paced things happen now. How consumers, when they file a complaint, they want an answer instantly. How quickly things change in the marketplace. That's probably one of the more surprising things, because things were much slower. Obviously, when you had to write a letter to the BBB explaining your complaint, it took days, and then it got to the BBB and it took us time to answer and then mail it out again. So it would take 30 days to answer a complaint. Well, now consumers want an answer and they want it resolved 2 days. They don't want to wait. So it's that whole fast pace that's changed.
And in turn, that's made a better relationship with consumers and the businesses wanting to know how is this going to play out if there is a complaint.
It's true. And businesses I think they want that response really quick too. They want to be able to get that behind them when there is. And I don't want this in any way, because you haven't asked me a question as to are most businesses good or bad, and I have to say most businesses are good. What happens usually is a communication breakdown, and the BBB gets involved a lot trying to bring those 2 parties, the consumer and the business, together to get a fair resolution. So it's not about a bad business. That's a very small percentage.
Paulette Scarpetti, thank you so much for joining us.
Oh, I am so happy to have been here. Thank you.
And I'll see you back at the office. Well, that's it for this edition of Better Business Bureau Serving Connecticut. Once again, I'd like to thank our guest, the President and CEO of Better Business Bureau Serving Connecticut, Paulette Scarpetti. We'd also like to thank Nutmeg TV and each and everyone who works here for this opportunity to share our experience with you and hopefully protect you and your family. And you can share what you've learned, we hope you will, with members of your family and friends and colleagues and neighbors, because education is the ultimate tool to protect ourselves from criminals who would do their best to deceive and threaten us into giving up our personal information and money. If you have a marketplace dispute, you want to inquire about a particular business or professional, or learn more about consumer marketplace issues, you'll find us at bbb.org/Connecticut. Connecticut is spelled out, or you can call us at 860-740-4500. Until next time, thank you for letting us into your home. I'm Howard Schwartz. We'll see you soon.